Yes. Well, first of all, we should make a distinction between whether or not we're presenting ourselves as someone who's in possession of the absolute truth, and whether or not there is an absolute truth. Right? To believe in the possibility of an absolute is not necessarily to suggest that one is in sole possession of it. We don't mean to give that impression, but it's often been observed in the modern world that the only absolute that is embraced by modern so-called educated people is the notion that all things are relative. So, as our Hridayananda Maharaj once responded to someone, they said to him, he was giving a talk, and someone got upset and they go, there's no such thing as right or wrong. And he said, is that right? So then it reaches a degree of absurdity. So we're not suggesting that we're in sole possession of the absolute truth. I will now extend it to you, people of Earth. Not like that. But the fact that there are, and let's deal with, there's misrepresentation of these things. So does that mean, because there are bogus misrepresentations, or there's imitation this, or low quality that it doesn't exist? Why? Why should that necessarily be a conclusion? So there are no absolutes in the world, only the relative? So if we can conceive of an absolute, right, therefore Guru Maharaj would refer to Hegel. If people are having problems embracing this concept from an Indian perspective, then he'll refer them to Hegel on a Western perspective. And it was Hegel who said, if there is an absolute, it must exist by itself and for itself. Right? It's a Hegelian concept. What is the next?
Someone is commenting on the same subject. He's saying there are certain absolute truths like gravity. It is pretty much absolute. If you drop it, it will fall.
All right, yeah, there are objective truths. That's where we should make this distinction. We're talking about that which is subjective. That and we mean to say that which is subjective, the fact that it's subjective doesn't mean that it's not real. For example, and you may know, there's a mathematician, German mathematician, Gödel, and he has a particular theorem. So his point basically is that there are many things that are true or real that can't be proven. So he means to say, by conventional means, you're talking about the objective world, objective means of measurement, trying to measure that which is subjective by some objective yardstick, that's not going to work. And we see that in subjective fields like art, literature, etc. So they can't prove that this is a work of art or a great work of art. You can't prove, one of my friends is an artist, Puskar, he used to say, that at one point, say his paintings were selling for $2,000, $5,000 or something. And then Rembrandt or Van Gogh, depending where you want to go with it, they're selling for $100 million. And he used to joke and say, is he like 50,000 times better than me? Is he 100,000 times better than me? But what it means to say is, from an objective point of view, let's look at a Rembrandt, let's look at a Picasso. Picasso's just sold for $100 million last year. If we look at that, what is it objectively speaking? It's a canvas, right, of negligible value with some paint on it. Right? And someone goes, well, was it crosshatch or a mezzo thing? What was going on? It's irrelevant, right, to what it is. But its subjective value, even just to underscore the point, as it's deteriorating objectively, its subjective value is increasing. How much is the Sistine Chapel, the ceiling, worth? What do you think the value would be? And so something's sitting there deteriorating objectively, and its subjective value is increasing. Let's follow this line of reasoning. All right. So, and you cannot, on the one hand, you cannot prove that Picasso's Blue Boy is worth $100 million. Right? But at Sotheby's, they're sitting there, $100 million down there. And people who only paid 95 are going, oh. So there's another group. They have a different set of skills. And this is a theory I'm talking here. Because you can say, no, I know one guy who was at that auction. It was just some rich mafioso from Russia who was buying for his boss, who was a tasteless goon. That's another thing. Now we just offended 100 million people in Russia. But they have a good sense of humor. But I'm saying, you have to look past these things again and just try and follow the thought. Now I'm being condescending. Okay, someone's holding a sign, condescending, Anyway, so, but what I'm saying is, that group, if you just follow this scenario, they have the skills to... Just Rippin was kicked out by Keshavananda, all right. I actually have a little music to go with that. But we'll see. Oh, Keshavananda, do you want to hear my kick out music? Oh, he does. All right, but anyway, let me finish this thought. So those people, you can't. I don't even see what you're saying, so I can't get into it.
You can't prove negatives, such as God, for example. Everything is subjective, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct. So it cannot be proved by objective means. So does that mean that God doesn't exist? For example, that someone is beautiful. We're here in India, and they say that Aishwarya Rai, you know who she is, right? You've heard of her, come on, admit it. Anyway, they say she's arguably the most beautiful woman in the world. Right? So let's at least say she's one of the group, okay? Big Hollywood actresses who've seen every beautiful woman on, the top of beautiful women, they've seen her and their jaw dropped. And they said, I've never seen someone this beautiful. So we can understand she's extra beautiful. But can anybody prove that? Can anybody prove that Aishwarya Rai is beautiful? Right? Can you prove that something is funny? Right? You ever, and you maybe have been in one of those situations where you're laughing, someone else. My mother used to say that. Is he funny? We're sitting laughing at Woody Allen, and my mother would go, "Is he funny?" So I couldn't prove it to her. But so you can't prove that anyone is beautiful, that someone is cute, that something is funny. So then if we're going to apply this whole scientific thing, then we go, well, then beauty doesn't exist, funny doesn't exist, cute doesn't exist. Can you prove? You see, we saw a picture of a chimpanzee holding a little tiger cub, and everyone goes, oh, and then so scientists will go, that's because certain chemical reactions are going on in your body at that time, and we can measure that. Okay, if you want to go that way, fine. As Guru Maharaj said, science, they've ruined the moon. Right? The moon.